Welcome to the sixth daily review meeting, daily review of COP27, which is happening at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Yesterday on 11th November, we are looking at what kind of activities have happened and what are the developments in the negotiations which are happening at COP27. Yesterday there was a very big splash in COP27 when Joe Biden, President of United States, flew in and he addressed a plenary at COP27. But that we'll discuss later, why he has come and what he said. Now this is almost sixth day, and tomorrow, so that is today, 12th November, by evening, most of the texts have to be finalized by the teams, different teams. There are this subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice, under which a lot of the committees are discussing the pledges, the goals, including NDCs and adaptation plans and country action plans. So there are different subjects which are discussed under this, and then subsidiary body for implementation. This is also under several groups are discussing loss and damage, climate finance, adaptation, mitigation. So, but today evening, by 12th November, Saturday evening, all these groups have to submit their conclusive text. It will be draft, but that will be conclusive text, and that will be discussed at the plenaries of these two bodies, subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice and a subsidiary body for implementation. So there will be two plenaries today evening on 12th November. So yesterday, delegates were, they were reminded that you need to conclude on whatever discussion they are doing. But the problem is, I think many of the groups have not yet agreed upon a text, and wherever they agreed upon what has to be done, they are struggling to find a precise language, which can communicate the essence of that consensus. So I think now they have only 24 hours. So yesterday there was some progress, but we have not seen any major texts which are coming out of it. So we will not know until the text is submitted to the plenary. So, but right now, yesterday there were a lot of discussions on loss and damage and various other activities. And in addition, as I mentioned, there was this plenary where Joe Biden came. Joe Biden, I know it's still a mystery why he suddenly came instead of, he could have joined on 7th and 8th November, where world leaders have come and they gave statements and also announced their goals and whatever they wanted to speak. But that was the slot for world leaders. But he came suddenly yesterday on 11th November, And what people said is he basically came to reiterate that US is joining Paris Agreement again. If you might remember, US, under Donald Trump has walked out of Paris Agreement when Trump was the president. And now today Joe Biden came basically to announce their rejoining the Paris Agreement. So what he said again we'll discuss. But his presence was very significant yesterday. But what I understand from this geopolitical struggle which is happening at COP27, one in the aftermath or the continuation of Russian invasion of Ukraine, there is a lot of disruption in the energy plans of both all the countries mostly, and in fact it has led to inflation because energy, most of the economies are dependent on this fuel supply. Their economies are now facing recession, and there is a lot of inflation. Prices have gone up even in US and European Union. And European Union is now staring at energy insecure conditions. So this is where I think European Union is looking for going back again to coal or fossil fuels. So in this, I think there is a variance between US position and EU position on these aspects. So somewhere I think Joe Biden has come to poke or basically he came in a competitive atmosphere between US and European Union on energy competition, energy supply, and overall energy politics which are going around petroleum, crude petroleum, and also methane, basically natural gas, and then coal. And of course, the implications of all this on trade. So I think Joe Biden's appearance at Egypt is not just an innocent announcement about their joining back a Paris Agreement. That he could have done from Washington itself instead of flying to Egypt. So I think we need to continue to monitor what is happening because next COP28 is by United Arab Emirates, which is again a major oil producing country. So, and Saudi Arabia, I know Joe Biden is cultivating Saudi Arabia also. So I think the geopolitics related to fossil fuels, especially crude petroleum and natural gas, I think those are the areas which we need to closely monitor. Because apart from the announcement of reiterating US interest in joining Paris Agreement, where Joe Biden mentioned that we need to focus on efforts to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. I think this is the first announcement in COP27 by a top country, which is a major emitter of fossil fuels. Because in this COP, I think everyone thought 1.5 degrees is forgotten because Paris Agreement is being emphasized upon, but not the focus on limiting to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So I think that's again significant. But apart from that, no major action has been announced by Joe Biden, especially on climate finance. Now, the biggest, culprit in terms of not providing funds for climate finance has been USA. So, but there was no announcement, and US officials yesterday they mentioned that Biden cannot announce climate finance because it has to go through the US Congress, and the recent results of election, midterm elections, Democrats have not have lost in some areas. So the challenge for whatever Joe Biden moves in the US Congress is there. So right now there is no announcement on climate finance from the US, and that has been pointed out. Uh, Yesterday, I think uh, 7 countries, small countries, Armenia, Ghana, Jordan, Liberia, North Macedonia, Paraguay, and Togo, they presented their climate action plans. Now, you might know Jordan is facing a severe drought. Basically, it is a water shortage country, but now there is a drought which is there in Jordan. And of course, Armenia and North Macedonia, I think they are facing the brunt of the war on Ukraine. Anyway, that's a significant significant activity yesterday. Coming to the global stock take, this activity, global stock take on Paris Agreement began even before COP27, and even within COP27, there were almost 1 week of roundtable discussions, and because the group was big, they subdivided themselves into small groups. They discussed a wide range of topics, which includes transforming energy and industrial systems, and boosting the capacity of vulnerable countries to access technical and financial support. So that has come to a close yesterday, the global stock take activity. So we need to know yet what is the text which was agreed upon or which is going to be recommended. I think that we'll know today evening when the subsidiary bodies have a meeting. And then, like last COP26, fashion industry, in fact, they announced a charter for climate action last COP26. So again, they had a meeting yesterday, a special event. So where they reviewed the solutions which are being applied across the fashion sector, and looked at ideas on what more needs to be done. Now, fashion, I know, basically is looking at shifting to low carbon materials, and using more and more renewable energy across their supply chain. You might know fashion industry is linked across the countries. So right from the raw fiber to the final garment, it goes through several countries, and the supply chains are very long. And this involves some environmental impact. So they are trying to reduce that. And basically, they announced their intention to shift to low carbon materials. That means the fiber, which most of the fiber, polyfiber, comes from fossil fuels. And when they are saying shifting to low carbon materials, does it mean shifting to natural fibers like cotton, silk, jute, wool, and other natural fibers, or or is it about recycling? I think there are still specific actions need to be looked at. And yesterday's meeting, it included big fashion brands, suppliers, and industry coalition. But the interesting point yesterday, I mentioned that European Union has started a anti-trust investigation. So antitrust means basically syndication of business, and avoiding competition, monopolization of business. So European Union has this antitrust legislation to check such a syndicated behavior. And of course, recently they have fined Google and Apple on this antitrust, based on this antitrust legislation. So fashion industry, which is saying it has come together for climate action, I think it has to now become more transparent, so that people do not misunderstand whatever they are trying to do as a part of their business strategy, rather than the commitment to reduce emissions and reach the goal of reducing emissions by 2030. So I think that's a target they have given to themselves. But overall, I think still, this is a far better, step if you compare with other sectors like industries, which have not yet come forward so far as a sector. I think that in that sense, what fashion industry has done is remarkable, and I hope we can see some concrete action this year. Yesterday, it was a decarbonization day, basically spanning across sectors like industry, energy, transport, steel, and of course, they included agriculture as well. So there, a breakthrough agenda was announced. This breakthrough agenda was announced, even last year at COP26. So, what is the difference between then and now is what I was looking at, but I could not find much difference, except that there is a reiteration, and now they have announced a package of 25 new collaborative actions. So these collaborative actions are focusing on 5 key breakthroughs, which includes power sector, road transport, steel, hydrogen, and agriculture. So but it was very pompously announced that there is a historic support between 3 COP presidencies, which includes COP26, Mr. Alok Sharma, and COP27, Sameh Shouri of Egypt, and then COP28, which is upcoming at UAE. So these 3 COPs presidents have come together, and they say it has sent a strong signal of intent to the private sector. So they hope that this breakthrough agenda will be able to reduce 50% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and also reduce energy costs and enhance food security. So in this, I think each of the breakthroughs have been segregated into different sectors, and except Austria and another country, which have supported the breakthrough agenda as a whole, as a complete agenda. All other countries, they supported the sectoral breakthrough. So some countries supported industry, some countries supported power. So this is again why that limited or partial support to the agenda, I think still it's not clear. But overall, there were countries from G7, which includes Australia, Japan, US, France, and other countries, and European Commission, India, Egypt, Morocco, and others. So these are all part of this breakthrough agenda, which was announced yesterday. Now, one of the, I think they have prioritized 4 kinds of agreements. Sorry, the priority actions they thought they'll take under the agreement is, one is develop a common definition for low emission and near zero emission in steel, hydrogen, and sustainable batteries. So again, there is this definition issue which is coming up indirectly in a different area of action. Then they want to wrap up deployment of essential infrastructure projects, including at least 50 large-scale net zero emission industrial plants, at least 100 hydrogen valleys, and a package of major cross-border power grid infrastructure projects. This looks, in a one sentence and 3 lines. They have packed a very big agenda, which looks very doubtful when it comes to implementation. And thirdly, they said they'll set a common target date to phase out polluting cars and vehicles. That they are saying by 2040, it has to be done globally, and 2035 in leading markets. But then what are these markets? I think it will be announced by the countries themselves. And of course, cities, it could include cities like New York, London, Delhi. So various other cities also can go along with this common target date of phasing out polluting cars and vehicles. Then there was this reference to finance, use billions of pounds of private and public procurement and infrastructure spent to stimulate global demand for green industrial goods. This looks again a very broad enough statement, but it does not give any specific information. So overall, this global breakthrough agenda which was announced, I think for me it appears to be more like a hyperbole, where it looks very pompous, but nothing inside or nothing you can take away from that in terms of action. So, but still, it is backed by the COP presidencies. I think there was a big plenary on this. There are a lot of discussions on decarbonization. Now, actual decarbonization, I think it's still not been seen in this agenda. So basically, the demand for complete phase out of fossil fuels from industry and transport sector. I think that has been a major demand, but this global breakthrough agenda does not promise anything on that. So whether this decarbonization day, especially with regard to industry and then steel industry, whether any concrete steps are going to be taken is still not clear from the whatever events which have happened yesterday at Sharm el Sheikh at COP27. So overall, I feel the decarbonization day, as it is, has not given any scope for uh, scope for hope that large reductions will be done in emissions. Uh, in that sense, I don't think yesterday was a good day. And somewhere the plenaries were hijacked by US president, because he came and then people said with his security and the aids, he came and they controlled the plenary. And I think as long as he was there, the plenary was under their control, so not much could be done about it. So I don't know if this was announced before or it was a sudden event, but still not know. But Joe Biden's presence, I don't think has helped because when you look at the methane pledge, last year there was at COP26 there was a methane pledge which was it was then announced that US itself has brokered that methane pledge where several countries said they are going to reduce methane release apart from the carbon emissions. But yesterday, apart from the announcement by Biden that we need to stick to 2030 levels of emissions, especially on methane and of course generally carbon, not much announcement has been made. So there is no new action which has been announced yesterday with regard to 30% cut in methane was announced. Now, actually, the recent IPCC report and then the emission gap report by UN, I think they remind us that we need the 40% cut in methane, not 30%. So, but no new action has been taken yesterday, so we are not sure. We are not basically. I think this is closed as of now in COP27. I mean, that's what I understand. Maybe again, we need to see if there are further discussions going to happen next week on this. Now, there are two new words which tickle my interest. One is in one of the committee meetings, they said overall mitigation of global emissions. Generally, we talk of mitigation of global emission. Now there is this new word which has been coined as overall mitigation of global emissions, which is OMGE. OMGE. That's an acronym which is being used. So I thought we need to look at what this means, and why it has been being used repeatedly. A second word I picked up is major emitters. Now we know global carbon emissions are happening by at least 15, 20 countries at the top level. And among them, the historically polluting countries are there. And in addition, India, China, these are the emerging economies. They are also included in the top emitters. But this word major emitters is being again came up, and there was some objection to its usage in one of the meetings. So I think we need to still see what does this major emitters mean. Does it include only those with history of emissions, or it is going to include the current top emitters? I think that's not clear. Yesterday, it was pointed out that in China, the extreme heat has come up again. This is winter, and but then the highest temperature yesterday recorded in China was 34.8 degrees centigrade, which is also a very new record in Hunan province, which is again a major production center in China. So, and they are expecting it to rise in November. So now we are, just crossed the first 10 days of November, and it is going to increase. So China is going to face highest temperature again. But interestingly, some of the comments they said some Chinese were happy because it will avoid energy bills for them. So with the rise in temperature in winter, they will not use air, controllers, which can heat up their homes. But then this is the time, there is there are snowfall in some parts of China. So with this rise in temperature, I think that's not going to happen. So this looks like that, it indicates that climate crisis is, I think it's going beyond control. Yesterday again, there was this observation by a media person that a top Indian cement company representative, he was carrying observer badge, which was given by another top environmental NGO from India. And he is using that, we can sit in any of the closed door meetings or consultation meetings of NGOs, where even journalists can't enter. So this person, being a representative of a cement company, by getting that badge, observer badge from a top environmental NGO, I think that person, it seems, is walking into many meetings. So someone has raised concern about it, and which looks very valid, because yesterday that report came where from corporate accountability desk, it said at least 600 delegate fossil fuel company lobbies have joined delegations of different countries, and among them the topmost comes from UAE, which is going to have a next venue for COP28. So why this is happening? Why these company representatives want to be in those meetings, and what is the purpose it serves to them? I think basically they are going to monitor the text and see if it's going to be beneficial or detrimental to their interests. So I think they are going to, disrupt the negotiations, if at all this, whatever texts which are agreed upon in the meetings, those are detrimental to their interests. So maybe that's the only purpose. So we still need to see why, how, and who has to be responsible for this cross contamination of delegates coming from different countries. So that way we are yet to see that. Now, with regard to gas, I think, as I mentioned, liquid natural gas, even though this is one of the sources of methane gas, and methane is a greenhouse gas. So there are pledges about reducing methane gas, but then instead of stopping any new projects, now more fresh projects are being announced across the world, by US, UK, and other countries. So again, this proposed, approved, and under construction liquid natural gas projects, I think they are going to increase the emissions and push the planet beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade. So tomorrow it will be Adaptation and Agriculture Day. Now, basically today, 12th November will be Adaptation and Agriculture Day. And a lot of the activities are going to be around this, especially plenaries and some working groups which have been constituted to look into this. But it was also announced by COP27 president that there will be official launch of COP27 FAST initiative, FAST initiative, which means Food and Agriculture for Sustainable Transformation initiative, which aims to increase climate finance contributions for agriculture and food systems. So this initiative aims to target the most vulnerable countries, especially in Africa and Asia. So we need to see if how this initiative is going to be announced and who are going to be part of that today. So that means we will cover that in the review tomorrow. But overall, I think Adaptation and Agriculture Day, we'll see discussions on adaptation finance, and of course, in agriculture, it will be Coronavia joint work on agriculture, KJWA, that's acronym. But then it includes proposals for transforming agriculture, digital agriculture. I think some nature-based solutions are being offered. So the groups are there trying to push agroecology and transformation of food systems which are in tune with nature. But there are groups and lobbyists who are trying to build digital agriculture, industrial agriculture into this agriculture agenda at COP27. So this struggle, I think, has begun in the side events yesterday, day before, last 3 days. That's happening, but still we need to see what is going to be in the official text. So today, whatever events are planned under that we'll check again. So let me go back to this tidbits which I've been sharing. Yeah, this is one report which was gained traction yesterday. That oil and gas companies have doubled their profits in this year. We are still in the 11th month of 2022, and this study shows that the companies have already doubled their profits. So world across, we are seeing the fossil fuel prices jumping, and it was mentioned that it is because of Russia-Ukraine war, then disruption in container supply, and fuel tanker movement has been affected for various reasons. So overall, whatever might be the reason, we can see that oil and gas companies' profits have jumped. And these are the companies they have shown. You can see gray color is the profits in 2021, and additional profits they got in 2022. So this is ExxonMobil, the top oil company that their profits have jumped. Shell, Chevron, Total Energies, BP, Equinor, ConocoPhillips, ENI Occidental also it has increased. In fact, Occidental had a minus profits last year, but now their profit jumped. So EOG, Sonkar, Devan, Repsol, EQT. So this is just a 6 months data we are looking at. This red color profits, it's only 6 months only. So in 6 months, their profits doubled over what the profit they earned in 2021. So when someone says because of war, people are facing problems, we can see that this is because of the profit mongering oil and gas companies. I think this is what we need to understand. And yesterday there was a committee meeting on limiting emissions from aviation sector. So aeroplane, I think they release a lot of greenhouse gases and directly in the high there in the atmosphere. So the air traffic is also under the focus. And there have been demands for reducing the emissions from aviation sector. So now people are saying, these three solutions are being demanded by activists. One is ban private jets, because now, even at Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt, at least it seems 400 private jets have landed in the last 4 or 5 days, where world leaders have come there and spoke at the COP27 meeting. So these private jets are increasing as the millionaires and billionaires are, raking wealth out of whatever activities they are doing. So the demand is to ban private jets. I think overall, when you look at ocean, maybe the yachts or the boats which are owned by billionaires, I think they are also going to be the target. And the second demand is to increase the tax on frequent flyers. There are a number of people who keep traveling by air, and there is a demand to tax them more so that they limit their flying. And third important principle is again make polluters pay, because these people are polluting the air, so they have to pay for that pollution is demand which is coming up. Now, yesterday I think this is a effort by civil society and various other organizations to make headway on loss and damage. Now, you know that in the last 5-6 days, Africa has been expecting a lot on loss and damage, because that is for the first time it has been included in the provisional agenda of COP27 of any COP meeting. And but then it appears to be bogged down at a definition of loss and damage, the mechanism of providing funds, what kind of mechanism. So I think there are still a lot of basic discussions which are happening. So yesterday there was this event which was organized by Nordic countries, which had a pavilion there in COP27. Transport, as I mentioned, yesterday was decarbonization day, and transport was one of the focus areas yesterday again. So now this factor of women and transport has been highlighted by some civil society organizations, because across the world, not only in India, but across the world, even in US and EU, women, those transport systems are not tuned to facilitate women. So these 5 principles have been emphasized. One is study and understand women's mobility, develop women mobility services, women-friendly mobility services, ensure women's security in transport systems. This is another major issue. And empower women in the transport sector, create awareness and stimulate behavioral change. Now, if you look at the fourth principle, empower women in the transport sector, in Hyderabad, in Telangana, and of course, some other cities, even Bangalore, there are these she taxis which have been launched. But even though they were launched with much fanfare, except one or two women drivers, not many have survived, using that as a livelihood. That's because there is no infrastructure which tries to empower women to sustain themselves in transport sector. So most often the she taxis, taxis, they don't have any taxi stand in Hyderabad. So they have to stand on the roads, and they don't have any resting place or restrooms. They are not. They can't access any restrooms. Women, especially. So there are a lot of issues which prevent women from continuing to be on the road for 8 hours, 10 hours, and especially they can't drive in the night also because of security issues. So overall, I think these 5 principles are trying to remind us of what needs to be done in transport systems. This is what I was mentioning about methane gas projects, LNG, liquid natural gas. So you can see here by 2030, there will be more projects. So these will be the proposed projects and approved projects, now under construction projects. So we are here with the existing infrastructure, but now countries are announcing new projects, even though they are saying they'll reduce emissions and they are committed to 2030 goals. And but the promise is just maybe 20% of a reduction. But experts, IPCC and other scientific reports say that methane gas has to be reduced by at least 43%. So whatever is being pledged right now, it is very low. If you want to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So this is what, if the new projects are, all of them are going to come up, the temperature is going to go up to 3 degrees, is what being, 3 gigatons, this is not temperature, but this will go beyond 1.5 degrees. So the same, the methane pledge, this global methane pledge is talking about 56%, but another 44% is not covered under the pledge, which includes China, India, Russia, and other countries. So only for 56%, even if this 56% is covered, we know that new projects are going to come. So overall, if you look at it, it appears that there is no progress at all on reducing methane gas emissions. So this is the statement, the goal, the mission of fashion industry. So they say to drive the fashion industry to net zero greenhouse emissions no later than 2050, in line with keeping global warming below 1.5 degrees. So they are talking of net zero gas emissions by 2050. That means another 28 years, they want to achieve net zero. So this is the mission This again appears to be very inadequate, but with a far longer time frame. But then there has been no criticism or critical review of this mission of the fashion industry. So Joe Biden yesterday he said, I can stand here as President of United States of America and say with confidence that US will meet our emission targets by 2030. So this is how he said they are going to be part of the Paris Agreement. So US is coming back into Paris Agreement. Yesterday there was this significant report. They said the rainwater wherever on the earth is now unsafe to drink due to PFAS, forever chemicals. These are a particular category of chemicals called PFAS. It's an acronym, and they are there for these chemicals are there everywhere, and they'll be there forever. So they don't break into the structure does not break, and they are found even in Antarctica. So there is no safe space to escape them. That's what the report says. And even rainwater might contain PFAS. That's what the report says. I thought that's very surprising because until now we thought rainwater is the safest source of drinking water. Because the groundwater is polluted everywhere, most of the rivers are polluted. Ocean, of course, is polluted. Microplastics are found everywhere. So basically, people thought at least rainwater is safe, but it does not appear to be so. So I stop here and let's see if we have any questions. Otherwise, I'll again speak in Telugu and close today's session. నిన్న 11 నవంబర్ 2022 నాడు ఈజిప్ట్లో జరుగుతున్న COP27 6వ దినము చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఈ చర్చలు అనేక కమిటీ రూమ్లలో డెలిగేట్స్ అందరూ కూర్చొని ఒప్పందం అనలేము కానీ కొన్నింత ఒక అంగీకారానికి రావడానికి కొన్ని విషయాల మీద చర్చలు జరుపుతున్నారు. అంటే ఆ పర్టికులర్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ కింద. అయితే వాళ్ళకి ఇప్పుడు ఈరోజు 12 నవంబర్ సాయంత్రం నాటికి వాళ్ళు అంగీకరించిన ఏదైతే టెక్స్ట్ ఉంటుందో అది ప్లీనరీస్కి ఇవ్వాలి. ఇవాళ ప్లీనరీ జరుగుతుంది. అంటే ఇక కమిటీ మీటింగ్లు కాకుండా ఒకటే దగ్గర అందరు కూర్చొని ఆ టెక్స్ట్ ఏమున్నది అనేది చర్చిస్తారు. దానికి ఒకవేళ సూత్రప్రాయ ఆమోదం ఉంటే, లేదా అందులో మళ్ళీ ఏమన్నా మార్పులు చేర్పులు ఉంటే మళ్ళీ వచ్చే వారం కూడా దాని మీద చర్చలు జరుగుతాయి. కాకపోతే ఈరోజు సాయంత్రం కల్లా వాళ్ళు ఇవ్వాలని నిన్న కొంత సాయంత్రం వరకు రాత్రి కూడా కొన్ని కమిటీ మీటింగ్లు జరిగినాయి. డెలిగేట్స్ కూర్చున్నారు. అయితే నిన్నటి వరకు వచ్చిన సమాచారం మేరకు ఇప్పుడు లాస్ అండ్ డ్యామేజ్ అనే విషయం మీద కానీ అంటే నష్టపరిహారము ఇవ్వడానికి ఎట్లాంటి ఎంత ఇవ్వాలి, ఎవరు ఇవ్వాలి, ఏ విధంగా ఇవ్వాలి అనే వీటి మీద చర్చ జరుగుతుంది. కానీ అదొక ఒక రూపంలోకి ఇంకా వచ్చినట్లు లేదు. అట్లాగే అడాప్టేషన్ ఫండ్ మీద జరుగుతుంది. తర్వాత మొత్తం క్లైమేట్ ఫైనాన్స్, అసలు ఈ ఏదైతే వాతావరణ మార్పులు జరుగుతున్నాయో, పర్యావరణ మార్పులు జరుగుతున్నాయి, భూతాపం పెరుగుతున్న సందర్భంలో ఈ మార్పు కొరకు మనం దీని నుంచి బయటపడడానికి చిన్న దేశాలకు, అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలకు నిధులు ఇస్తామని ప్యారిస్ ఒప్పందంలో అప్పుడు అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలు $100 బిలియన్ ఇస్తామన్నారు. అందులో చాలా మటుకు ఇవ్వలేదు. కొన్ని దేశాలు అసలు ఒక్క పైసా కూడా ఇవ్వలేదు. మరి ఇప్పుడు ఈ చర్చ మరి అది ఎవరిస్తారు, ఎంత ఇస్తారు అని మళ్ళీ దాని మీద చర్చ మొదలైంది. అయితే అది మొన్న 3 రోజుల నుంచి కూడా ఇప్పుడు భారతదేశంతో సహా ఇతర దేశాలు అసలు ఈ క్లైమేట్ ఫైనాన్స్ నిర్వచనం మీదనే ఆగిపోయినట్టు కనపడుతుంది. మరి నిన్న 2-3 సమావేశాల్లో దీని మీద చర్చ వచ్చినట్టుంది, కానీ అది కూడా ఒక రూపంలో ఉన్నట్టు నాకైతే అనిపించలేదు. మరి నిన్న ఇంకోటి డీకార్బనైజేషన్ డే అని COP27 ప్రెసిడెంట్ అంతకుముందే ప్రతిరోజు ఒక ప్రత్యేక విషయం మీద సమావేశాలు జరుగుతాయి అన్నట్టే నిన్న డీకార్బనైజేషన్ డే అన్నారు. అంటే కార్బన్ రహిత దినంగా నిన్న దాన్ని భావించారు. దాని కింద కొన్ని సమావేశాలు జరిగినాయి. అందులో ఒకటి బ్రేక్ త్రూ ఎజెండా అని ఒకటి మేము అంగీకరించినాం. దాదాపు 25 దేశాలు ముందుకొచ్చాయి అని ప్రకటన అయితే వచ్చింది. కాకపోతే ఆ లోతుల్లోకి వెళ్తే వాళ్ళు ఏం ప్రకటించారు, ఏం చేస్తామన్నారు, అవన్నీ కొంత వివరంగా చూస్తే అది ఎక్కడ వాళ్ళు అందని విధంగా ఇంగ్లీష్లో రాసుకున్న ఇది లక్ష్యాలే ఉన్నాయి తప్పితే ప్రత్యేకంగా ప్రత్యక్షంగా ఈ పని చేసి దీని ద్వారా మనము కార్బన్ రహిత ఇది పారిశ్రామిక ఉత్పత్తి లేదా రవాణా రంగము, తర్వాత వ్యవసాయ రంగము, వీటిలో ఎట్లాంటి మార్పులు ఆలోచిస్తున్నారనేది స్పష్టత లేదు అక్కడ. కాకపోతే పేరుకి మాత్రం అన్ని పెద్ద దేశాలు, అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలు, తర్వాత COP26 ప్రెసిడెంట్, COP27 ప్రెసిడెంట్, COP28 ప్రెసిడెంట్ వీళ్ళందరూ కలిసి ఒక అంగీకారానికి వచ్చిండ్రు అని ప్రకటన అయితే వచ్చింది. దీని ద్వారా మనకేదో జరుగుతుంది అని ఒక విశ్వాసం కల్పించే ప్రయత్నం అయితే జరిగింది. కాకపోతే దాన్ని ఎవరు పట్టించుకున్నట్టు అనిపించలేదు. అయితే ఇక్కడ దీని లోతుల్లోకి ఇంకా పోవాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. ఎందుకంటే బ్రేక్ త్రూ ఎజెండా COP26లో కూడా ప్రకటించారు. అప్పుడు చేసిండు, అప్పటికి కొంత తేడా ఏంటంటే ఈసారి కొంత ప్రతి రంగం మీద కొంత వివరంగా మాట్లాడినట్టు అనిపించింది. అయితే ఏం చేస్తారు దాని కింద అనేది ఎవరు నిర్ణయిస్తారు, ఇవి ఇంకా స్పష్టత రాలేదు. ఎందుకంటే ఉదాహరణకు వ్యవసాయం తీసుకుంటే వ్యవసాయంలో ఇప్పటికే ఎయిమ్ ఫర్ క్లైమేట్ అని ఒక అగ్రిమెంట్ ఉంది, ఒక కూటమి ఉంది. ఈ కూటమి ప్రయత్నాలు ఏంటంటే ఎక్కువగా ఆధునిక వ్యవసాయం వైపు అడుగులు వేసే విధంగా ఉన్నాయి. యాక్చువల్లీ ఈరోజు అంటే 12 నవంబర్ నాడు వాళ్ళు ఆ కూటమి సమావేశం ఉంది. ఇది కాక కొరోనవియా వర్క్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఆన్ అగ్రికల్చర్, జాయింట్ వర్క్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఆన్ అగ్రికల్చర్ అని ఒకటి నడుస్తుంది మనకు అనేక COP15 నుంచి కూడా. దీని కింద ఇప్పటికే 2-3 కమిటీ సమావేశాలు జరిగింది. మరి ఈ సమావేశాలకి ఇప్పుడు ఈ బ్రేక్ త్రూ ఎజెండాకి మధ్య సారూప్యము అయితే ఎక్కడ కనపడట్లేదు. ఇందులో మళ్ళీ కార్పొరేట్ రంగం యొక్క ప్రభావం ఎంత మేరకు ఉందనేది కూడా మనం ఆలోచించాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. అయితే నిన్న జో బైడెన్ అమెరికా ప్రెసిడెంట్ COP27కి రావడం జరిగింది. సాధారణంగా దేశాధినేతలు ఏ COP పైన మొదటి 2 రోజులు వాళ్ళు వచ్చి వెళ్ళిపోతారు. తర్వాత చివరి రోజు వస్తే వాళ్ళు వస్తారు, లేదా వాళ్ళ మంత్రులు వచ్చి ఆ చివరి రోజు ఏదైనా ఒప్పందం ఉంటే దాన్ని ఆ సమావేశంలో పాల్గొంటారు. కానీ ఈయన మొట్టమొదటిసారి మధ్యలో వచ్చి నిన్న ప్లీనరీ మీటింగ్ పెట్టి అమెరికా ప్యారిస్ అగ్రిమెంట్లో మళ్ళీ పాల్గొంటుందని ప్రకటించడం జరిగింది. అంటే అంతకుముందు ట్రంప్ ఉన్నప్పుడు ప్యారిస్ అగ్రిమెంట్ నుంచి అమెరికా వైదొలుగుతుందని ప్రకటన చేసిండు ఆయన. సో బైడెన్ వచ్చి మేము ఇది జాయిన్ అవుతున్నామని చెప్పారు. కానీ ఒకవేళ ఆయన జాయిన్ కావడానికి ఆయన ఇంత దూరం ఎందుకు వచ్చిండు, అది అక్కడే వాషింగ్టన్లో ఉండి చెప్పొచ్చు కదా అనేది ప్రశ్న వచ్చింది. కాకపోతే ఇప్పుడు యుక్రెయిన్ రష్యా యుద్ధం నేపథ్యంలో ఈ మళ్ళీ ఎనర్జీ పాలిటిక్స్ మొదలైనవి. అందులో ఫాసిల్ ఫ్యూయల్స్ మీద అంటే పెట్రోలియం, తర్వాత గ్యాస్, దీని మీద రాజకీయాలు మొదలైనది. అది గ్లోబల్ జియో పొలిటిక్స్ ఉంటాయి కాబట్టి మిడిల్ ఈస్ట్, యూరోపియన్ యూనియన్, అమెరికా, తర్వాత లాటిన్ అమెరికా, ఇవన్నీ ఖండాల మధ్య, దేశాల మధ్య రాజకీయాలు నడుస్తున్నాయి కొద్దిగా జోరుగా. అందులో ఈ యుద్ధంతో వచ్చిన సమస్యలు కొన్ని. అందుకే భారతదేశము అమెరికా, యుక్రెయిన్, రష్యా మీద ఆంక్షలు విధించినా కూడా భారతదేశం మాకు సంబంధం లేదని రష్యా నుంచి మనం క్రూడ్ పెట్రోలియం తీసుకొని వాడుకుంటున్నాం. ఇక్కడ శుద్ధి చేసి మళ్ళీ ఎగుమతి కూడా చేస్తున్నాం. అంటే ఇవన్నీ జియో పాలిటిక్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో ఇవి జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఆ నేపథ్యంలో బైడెన్ వచ్చి ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి ప్రకటన చేసినట్టు అనిపిస్తుంది. కానీ ఇది COP27లో పుడమి భూతాపము పెరగడానికి దోహదపడుతున్న విషవాయువులను తగ్గించడానికి అమెరికా చేసే ప్రయత్నాలు ఎంత మేరకు అనేది చెప్పడానికైతే రాలేదు. ఆయన కొత్తగా ఏం చెప్పలేదు కూడా. 2030 వరకు అంటే వచ్చే 8 ఏళ్లలో ఇదివరకు చెప్పిందే మళ్ళీ తగ్గిస్తామని చెప్పారు. కానీ మీథేన్ గ్యాస్ మీద పోయిన సంవత్సరము చేసిన ఒప్పందం మేరకు మళ్ళీ ఈ సంవత్సరం ఏం చేస్తారు, కొత్తగా చెప్తాడా అంటే అది కూడా చెప్పలేదు. ఎందుకంటే నేను పోయిన సంవత్సరం COP26లో దాని మీద ఒక ఒప్పందం అమెరికానే ప్రకటించింది. కానీ ఇక్కడ నుంచి అక్కడ పోయినాక మళ్ళీ కొత్త ప్రాజెక్టులు మొదలు పెట్టారు. సో ఆ నేపథ్యంలో అసలు మళ్ళీ మీథేన్ ప్లెడ్జ్ గురించి కానీ దాంట్లో ఇంకా వీళ్ళు ముందడుగు ఏ విధంగా వేస్తారని చెప్పినట్లేదు. ఓవరాల్ నిన్నటి వరకు అయితే COP27లో ఈ ఎమిషన్స్ అంటే ఈ వాయువుల విడుదల గురించి చాలా నిర్దిష్టమైన చాలా డ్రాస్టిక్ అనౌన్స్మెంట్లు అయితే ఏ ఒక్క దేశం కూడా చేయలేదు. ఇది చేయకుండా ఇక మిగతా అంశాల మీద కొద్దిగా టెక్నికల్గా సాంకేతిక అంశాల మీద చర్చలు జరుపుతున్నారు తప్పితే ప్రపంచం ముందు ఉత్పాతాలు ఉన్నాయి, ఉత్పాతాలు పెరుగుతున్నాయి, ఆ ప్రపంచం అంతటా వస్తుంది. ఎప్పుడు ఏమవుతుందో తెలియని పరిస్థితి ఉన్న నేపథ్యంలో ఇంకా దాని యొక్క తీవ్రత ఈ వీళ్ళ మీద, రాజకీయ నాయకుల మీద, ఆ COP27 ప్రక్రియల మీద ఉన్నట్టు ఏమీ అనిపిస్తలేదు. బహుశా మరి ఇవాళ సాయంత్రం వరకు ఆ టెక్స్ట్ చూస్తే మనము ఇంకేమన్నా ఆశ కలిగించే విధంగా ఏమన్నా అంగీకారాలు ఉంటాయా, ఒప్పందాలు ఉంటాయా అనేది చూడాల్సిన పరిస్థితి ఉంది. సో మళ్ళీ రేపు కలుసుకుందాం. రేపు వ్యవసాయం మీద, అడాప్టేషన్ మీద, అంటే ఈరోజు వ్యవసాయము అడాప్టేషన్ మీద ఇవాళ జరుగుతుంది. మనం రేపు దీన్ని రివ్యూ చేసుకుందాం. ఏమన్నా ప్రశ్నలు ఉంటే మాట్లాడదాం, లేకుంటే క్లోజ్ చేసుకుందాం.